When the cast of Matilda scooters off the stage on September 1st, it will be the last time we see Bertie Carvel and Lauren Ward as Miss Trunchbull and Miss Honey, the roles they originated within the show.
What about rules, honey? Rules?
I believe that Matilda Wormwood is an exception to the rules.
An exception to the rules in my school?
Matilda the Musical had its first performance on November 9th, 2010 in Stratford-Upon-Avon, England, where it received rave reviews. Both Bertie and Lauren were part of the original Stratford cast. At this point, no plans were in place for the show to have any life beyond the Stratford production.
We just thought it was going to be a little Christmas show up in Stratford-Upon-Avon.
But that was hardly the case for this internationally successful musical. In March of 2011, it was announced that the show would be moving to London's West End the following October. The casting for the West End production was announced in August of 2011, confirming that Bertie would continue to torture the little maggots, and Lauren would continue to nurture them on the West End stage. After the relocation, Bertie said it was very exciting, and the cast and crew had their fingers crossed for success. As Bertie and Lauren were settling into London, the Stratford-Upon-Avon original cast recording was coming out, with our two stars captured singing their roles. Fittingly, the original cast recording was released on September 13th, 2011, also known as Roald Dahl Day. The good news for Matilda wouldn't stop there. In fact, the next few months would bring a score of good news for the Matilda team. February of 2012 brought the news of Matilda's impending leap to Broadway's own Shubert Theatre, and March would bring Matilda a record-breaking 7 Olivier Awards, including one for Bertie Carvel's performance as the villainous Miss Trunchbull, in the category Best Actor in a Musical.
Thank you very much. I was lucky enough to be nominated for this award once before, and actually on that occasion it was taken home quite rightly by Michael Ball for playing a woman. So when the opportunity came up to play this part, it was very easy for me to say yes.
The 7 Olivier Awards would win Matilda the honor of receiving the Guinness World Record for most Laurence Olivier Award wins. The title was officially added to the 57th edition of the Guinness World Records book. As his performance was praised, Bertie explained just how he found the character of Agatha Trunchbull.
It's like detective work. Work out what you know must be true about somebody from the text. And in this case, we've got several texts. We've got Roald Dahl's book, Dennis Kelly's adaptation, Tim Minchin's songs, and then work out what might be true, and then use your imagination like a detective has a hunch. You know, where would the killer hide the gun? If I were the killer, where would I hide the gun? And then and there you have it. And so there's sort of all kinds of directions that one might go in. But what appealed to me was, you know, what was this woman? She hates children with such a passion. I'm sort of intrigued to know what her own childhood was like. And actually there's quite a lot of information hidden away in corners of this story that tells you a bit about that. And because it's a story about childhood and lost childhood, and all of the major characters have, in an oblique way, their story is about what kind of a childhood they had. So it seemed right to investigate that and flesh that out in my imagination.
December 2012 would provide the release of Matilda the Musical's Broadway cast, which announced that Bertie and Lauren would both be making the leap to the States with the show. While this was to be Bertie's Broadway debut, it would be a return home for Lauren Ward. Lauren hails from Missouri, and her Broadway debut in Nicholas Hittner's production of Carousel at Lincoln Center came in 1994, just 6 years after Matilda, the book, was published. In 2001, Lauren played young Sally in Follies, directed by Matthew Warchus. Matthew and Lauren married, and in 2002, they left for England, where she appeared in multiple West End productions. Matthew Warchus, too, has been with Matilda from the beginning, directing the original Stratford-Upon-Avon production that began the rave reviews. The Tony Award-winning director originally began the process in December of 2008, almost 2 whole years before the production would debut in Stratford-Upon-Avon. He approached Tim Minchin about writing the music and lyrics for Matilda. After briefly debating taking the job, "Why don't they get someone proper?" Minchin recalls his wife asking regarding the offer. He signed on. The project was personal for him. He had considered doing it on his own a decade earlier, but never went ahead with the writing. In early 2010, a final push was made on the script and book, preparing the show for its rehearsals in September of the same year. As the show moved, so too did the creative team. Matthew, Dennis, and Tim all reprised their creative roles in the West End and Broadway productions, working to update Matilda as necessary for London and New York audiences. Matilda may have been Lauren's first long-term engagement in the States since 2001, but she kept busy appearing in multiple productions in London's West End, including The Sound of Music, The Philadelphia Story, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and Camelot, multiple television appearances, and the occasional performance stateside, including a Carnegie Hall concert performance of Carousel with Hugh Jackman and Audra McDonald. Bertie also had an active career before he was forcing kids to eat entire cakes. After graduating from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in 2003, Bertie worked in radio, television, and theater, receiving his first Olivier nomination in 2008 for his 2007 performance in Parade. Matilda opened on Broadway on April 11, 2013, to high praise and garnered 12 Tony nominations, including Best Performance by an Actor in a Musical for Bertie's performance as Miss Trunchbull, and Lauren's first Tony nomination for Best Performance by an Actress in a Featured Role in a Musical for her portrayal of Miss Honey. Lauren's nomination is a testament to how well things can work out. Her original involvement with Matilda came tangentially, through reading the script for her husband, the director. Of her unexpected turn as Miss Honey, Lauren explained to Broadway.com that she had had no intention of doing anything other than the workshop to help those guys along. Originally reading the role as a favor to her husband's creative team, she wound up snagging the role, despite the fact that being married to the director, as she says, makes them prejudiced against you, and you almost have to prove yourself even more. Her Tony nomination certainly proved that she had what it takes to play Miss Honey, one of the only characters sympathetic to Matilda's plight. She also shows Miss Honey's inner strength. Miss Trunchbull may call Miss Honey weak, but Lauren disagrees, saying, "I think she's not. She's still functioning and doing something good in the world. She is wounded, but I don't feel she's broken." She also, according to Lauren, gets her strength from Matilda.
I think when Matilda hugs Miss Honey, it's such a shock for her. She's never been had any affection like that since her father died. And so it's like, I feel like that's a little portal that's just been cracked, and slowly she starts to get stronger within herself.
Sure enough, Lauren has brought an inner strength to the role that comes out in the fierceness of her love for Matilda. Between the Stratford-Upon-Avon, West End, and Broadway productions, Matilda has won 47 awards. It's not hard to see why. With the talent of Bertie and Lauren as two of the adult leads, and the pint-sized powerhouse Matildas, and the dedication of the cast and creative crew, this show, much like its title character, was destined for greatness. The Matildas, whom Matthew Warchus sent to boxing lessons to learn how to read their lines while fighting, to provide the perfect amount of feistiness, have provided both a wonderful lead for the show and a great foil for Bertie and Lauren. In November of 2011, Bertie told Broadway.com that, "I don't think actors like me often get the opportunity these days to do long runs, but it's hard to imagine Matilda's success without his involvement." The announcement that Bertie and Lauren are leaving the Broadway cast of Matilda was made in early August. They have yet to announce their next projects, but we're sure whatever it is, they'll give equally strong performances. We don't look forward to seeing Lauren Ward's Miss Honey cartwheel away for good, or Bertie Carvel's Miss Trunchbull flee for a final time, but it's been a pleasure being part of their Matilda journey, and we wish them all the best.